According to my computer, it is now 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call for a motion to come out of closed session, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we return to open session, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
We'll start the voting with Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Yes. Need to certify that we convene a closed session this day pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and on the motion to close the meeting in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas Section 2.2-3711D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed session was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Carroll County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, number one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session to which the certification applies, and two, only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which this closed session was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting to which the certification applies. If you agree with that, I would appreciate you saying, I so certify. We'll start with Mr. Philip McCraw.
I say certify.
Mr. Hill,
I so certify.
Mr. McCraw,
I so certify.
Mr. Moore. I so certify. I'll ask Robbie if he would lead us in our invocation and our pledge of allegiance, please.
Let's rise, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together in this meeting. And Lord, we just thank you for the many blessings you've passed upon us and for the beautiful day that you've provided us. Lord, we ask that you watch over us, lead, guide, and direct us through this meeting. Lord, we also ask a special prayer for Tracy's family as they're dealing with a loss in their family, and just watch over and comfort them. Lord, we ask that you just watch it over us, keep us safe on our travels home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Robbie. It's good to see some of you in our audience today. We do have a public hearing on our proposed potential tax rate. And I'm going to open the public hearing at 6:02 p.m. And I want to make sure everybody understands this is not setting the tax rate levy. It is only the numbers that we are proposing. And to be clear, the numbers cannot go higher than these numbers, and they could possibly go lower when the tax rate is actually set once the budget is completed. And the proposed tax levy for 2021 is as follows: real estate, 69 cents per hundred, personal property, $2.30 per hundred, machine and tools, $2 per hundred, and merchants capital, 69 cents per hundred. Any airplanes valued over $1 million, $1 per $100 of assessed valuation, and a data center of over $10 million of assessed value, $1 per $100 of assessed valuation. Mr. Gregson, I think you're first on the list. If you'd come up to the podium, please. You have the floor.
Thank you. Doctor, board members, and staff, Steve Gregson from Fancy Gap. Just want to come during the public hearing today about the tax rate, just to concerns. I mean, as a former 365-day citizen, now just a owner of real estate in Carroll County, and being a resident of South Carolina, under full disclosure, the concern I have is more so of economic development for the future of Carroll County. And I feel that we need to be pretty competitive with our sister or brother counties throughout the area if we're going to attract more businesses into Carroll County. And one of the things, I know that last year we had a pretty good increase upon the rate to meet some of the requirements, some budget issues, I've been told, and along with that, maybe some pre-pandemic issues along with that. I feel that you all made a very good decision by going to twice a year to the collection, which helped out the cash flow issue. That was remarkable, and that was done by this board here, so I applaud you for that. I feel that, again, that we need to be competitive with the other counties area. With County currently is 54 cents per 100. A fair market value on the real estate aspect of it. Grayson is 58 cents. I know that's pretty low compared to what we have now, but they're also being affected by these new rates that we're seeing. That is a kind of an after effect for the pandemic of the real estate increases, and I feel that those are going to still be going on at least this next year, as we see a supply and demand factor in that going on. People are moving out of the cities. They're moving, and I live just south of Charlotte now, and they are moving all areas to get away out of big cities. Many of them talk to come up to the mountains this way. So with that aspect of it is, I think that we'll continue to see the supply and demand. There's very little supply out there in the real estate market. There's a tremendous demand at the same time too. I just had a couple questions, and one of them came up tonight, and you don't have to answer this, but I was curious that on the rate that we don't tax airplanes unless they're over $1 million, and I'm not sure how many.
No, that's not correct.
Okay, good, thank you.
Anything under $1 million is taxed at regular personal property.
Do we know how many airplanes were taxed at that last year?
At which rate?
At the lower rate?
I don't have the exact number. I think there are like 23 airplanes based at the airport right now.
Okay,
Yeah, but they were taxed at the $2.30.
$2.30 per 100.
Yeah, we've only tried to reduce the rate on the very high-valued airplanes to help attract them in here.
Good. And I'm all for that, by all means. But I
That's
guess the
one
question is,
question.
what's the largest plane that you can get in here under a Lear aspect?
I don't know the values of those large airplanes, but
Okay.
it would take a pretty good-sized airplane to be worth $1 million.
Well, in the private jets, the Hondas are pretty short. I just don't know what their runway requirements are on that, if our runways really even meet some of those requirements of those quote, $1 million airplanes.
Our runway is 4,200 feet right now, and airplanes can land and take off on that amount of runway, but a lot of times their insurance policy restricts them to 5,000 feet or more.
Okay.
That's the issue.
So pretty much, we don't really have a good market because of that. And obviously, the insurance on those are quite high, and Lords of London is probably doing very well in that market, to say the least. But, so I thank you for that clarification on that, so I have a better understanding of that. Again, my issue is, I just think we need to take a look from a citizen standpoint to be in a position to be competitive with the other counties, to be able to lure other businesses, other places that could create more income for our county at the same time too. So pretty simple. Thank you for a great job you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Gregson. Our next person who is signed up is Laura Parnell. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I'm disappointed that there aren't more people here. I think that's kind of one of my main points tonight is that for us personally, for our main home, our only home here in Carroll County, we in the past 2 years are going to be paying about $200 more than we would have 2 years ago. I think we probably got off kind of easy on that. The thing that I'm concerned about are the people who don't really know how board meetings work or how to get here or how to appeal. Mr. Gregson and I were speaking prior to the meeting about the difficulty of the appeal process. For your reassessment, it's rough on folks. It's rough on me. Just trying to figure out the math of how much more I am going to owe now was rough on me. So I can't imagine, if I didn't have the resources and the folks that I can call on to ask these questions and to kind of guide me along the process. So, it concerns me most about folks who aren't sure how to advocate for themselves, but will greatly suffer because of the increase, even at 69, cents on the 100, because we read or we were told by the gentleman from the firm who did the reassessment that the average residential real estate value increase was 13%. And so if we have a decrease of 4 cents back to 69, for most folks, that's still an increase. And you all know that. But I don't think that that's so clear to everyone that they will be paying more. And for many of our citizens who are right there on the poverty line or close or even not on the poverty line, that's a significant amount of money. I made a video to explain that to folks how it would affect them if the rate was set at 69 on the 100. And there were comments that said that would take meals off the table, that would take opportunities off the table. I mean, we're talking about serious life effects for folks. So, that's my first concern, is how does that affect Carroll County citizens? I echo Mr. Gregson's sentiments about how does that affect us with economic development when we, I think if we're honest, we're not at the same place that some counties around us are economically as far as the development on Main Street and beyond. And so at this rate, we put ourselves at even more detriment, in my opinion. And then finally, as a town citizen who really gets hammered with town and county taxes, I would like to know what more will I receive as a citizen as I continue to pay more? Because at this point, I feel like I haven't heard a thing that I will receive as I pay more. But I do think that things have happened that have been detrimental to me as a citizen of this county because of the increases. I feel like already, as I've just mentioned, economic development-wise, it is detrimental to me and other citizens in the county. And, I just feel like I don't know what the future plan is for our tourism department, but, things happen. Tourism was sort of somewhat eliminated, perhaps, and that's a $20-some billion industry in Virginia. That's really important to us as citizens that we have these opportunities bringing folks in, and also to have things to do in our own county that tourism can kind of foster. So I think that, if we are expected to pay more, we all want to know what more will we receive as a result of paying more. So I thank you all for listening. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Those are the only two folks who signed up. Does anyone else like to speak? Seeing no one coming forward, I will close the public hearing at 6:12. My understanding is we're not setting the tax rate tonight. That is correct, is it not? So we don't need any motions at this point. Okay. Our next item on the agenda is citizens' time. Do we have anybody signed up for citizens' time? Anybody like to speak during citizens' time? You have 3 minutes. All right. Move to our next item is payment of invoices.
One question, Mike. The receive-ab that's on our invoices, what is that? Do you know what that is? It's on the first page.
How do you spell that?
It's RECEIVAB.
Is that the third at the bottom?
Yeah.
She says it's the billing, and I'm asking of what? Ambulance billing.
Ambulance billing? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. That's just caught my eye. Thank you. Didn't mean to create any issues. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the payment of invoices.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Sorry. Motion was made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on or questions on the payment of the invoices? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. We have minutes of two previous meetings. That was February the 8th and February the 22nd. I hope you've had a chance to read over those minutes. If you have no additions or corrections, I'd like a motion to approve those. If you have any corrections, we'll make them at this time.
I make a motion we approve meetings for February 8th and February 22nd meeting.
Motion's been made to approve the minutes of both of those meetings. Is there a second?
I second it.
Discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Yes. Moving into new business, the first item is the consent calendar. We do need a motion to approve that.
I make a motion we approve a consent calendar.
Thank you. There's been a motion to approve the consent calendar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Our second item is the EDA financial report. I might let Mike discuss that if he would.
It's really just in there for your information. They have, Robertson, Plummer and Cox has finished the audit report for this year for the EDA. It's mainly just for your knowledge to accept. I can have him come in and present it to us when he comes for the other audit at the point.
That doesn't require board action, does it?
Not tonight, unless you just want to, but it's just accepting of the audit.
Does anyone have any questions about the EDA financial report as presented? Hearing none, we'll move to the third area under new business, which is a resolution concerning fringe benefits. As I understand that, that's basically giving the members of the Board of Supervisors the option to be under the county health insurance if they so choose. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have to, in order for the board to be covered in insurance, our insurance carrier requires a resolution from the board to allow it.
That's health insurance, correct?
That's correct.
Yes. So I'm looking for a motion to approve that. If we don't get a motion, then that would obviously deny it. I'm not hearing anything, so is that, assuming you don't want to take action on it? To make it official, does anyone want to make a motion to deny it? I'll give you that chance.
I make a motion we deny it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to deny the fringe benefits. And I'll start with Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw. Mr. Philip McCraw.
No.
No. Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Yes.
I think Philip misunderstood, I think. Were you going to vote for this? or not
For the
vote for it?
fringe benefits?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, that was, I think that was a misvote.
I'm sorry.
I think he misunderstood the vote.
We were voting to deny the fringe benefits, so a yes
Yeah,
vote would deny.
no. Yeah. Not given.
Okay. Motion passes.
It's hard to hear on this side sometimes.
I'm sorry, I'll try to speak up. Our next item is the lease for Delilah Brady.
That's for the use of the old boardroom at the courthouse, correct?
Yes, and I think it's actually set up so that it renews every year unless we choose not to do so.
I make a motion that we approve that lease.
Is there a second?
I'm sorry if I just jumped in.
Yeah.
It's also an action item, you could renew it, I think it automatically renews.
Okay.
But I think you have a chance to review it every year to determine if rent will be charged. Last year, you did not charge rent, I believe.
Okay.
So I guess you might want to clarify that point.
I will remove my motion and restate it that I'd like to honor the lease and leave it as is with no payment for rental.
For one more year.
You know, one more year, yeah.
I'll
Is-
second.
I think what she's doing and what they're doing over there is very vital and very important to the county. And they're preserving a lot of records and making them available to the people in the community, so,
And I think that's why there was,
yeah.
no buy.
Okay, there's a motion and a second that we renew the lease, or continue with the lease that automatically renews with no rent. Any discussion?
I think at one time there was some disagreements going on over there, and I don't think that's happening anymore. I think it's all solved.
Anybody else? I'll start voting with Mr. Hill,
Yes?
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Yes. Our next item also is a lease for the Genealogy Club, which is essentially the same terms as we just discussed with the other one.
Yeah, that's correct, Dr. Littrell, and that one was the same situation, no rent for the first year, but you do have discretion to stipulate rent for a subsequent term if that's your desire.
I make a motion, we approve that with no rent.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Since you're ready to vote, I'll start with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Our next item is to amend the budget for the EDA. Mike, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. What you have in your packet is a breakdown of new employee costs that was not budgeted in last fiscal year. It amends the budget to allow the payroll of a part-time executive director of the EDA. What this does is it gives staff the ability to code the salary and the other costs along with the salary, and we'll bill the EDA for that, and the EDA will reimburse us for those funds. This just gives us a way to write the payroll.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
I'm sorry, I had a hard time finding where that was coming from.
Point of order. I guess point of order is, has this employee already been hired?
Yes. He doesn't receive payroll for another week.
So he's been hired, so at this point of order is that we're doing an MOU for an employee who's already been hired.
we are allocating funds to the budget.
Okay. Just
This is item F, to amend the budget. Was there a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Any discussion? Discussion?
This gives us a person that we, normally the county administrator has been filling this, but this will help the county administrator, in my viewpoint, find and identify businesses to come into Carroll County. Just provides another person, and it's a part-time job. Got a young person there, and hopefully this will bring a lot of business to Carroll County.
Any other discussion? I'll start the motion, the voting with Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. The motion passes 5-0. Next item is the fourth quarter appropriations.
Do these appropriations, are they the ones that Benita was asking for in that email she sent us on?
No. These appropriations will allow us to pay the bills for the fourth quarter.
Okay.
This year, prior in the year, the allocation for the budget was separated by quarter. Each quarter we what the allocations that were asked for, it's within the department.
Okay.
The way that the Commonwealth handles those is the Board of Supervisors approve budgets based on department. So when you advertise it, all the departments are set an amount. And within that budget, line items can be allocated between line items by the county administrator. And a lot of times what I'll do is when a line item might be blown out, it gives me an opportunity to see where the money's going. It shows that this item might be a little bit under budget, whereas another line item may be over budget. So a person might spend more, not by, say you have an allocation for a computer this year that you're not needed. Well, if it's in the budget, and maybe instead they had computer repair, so you could move the line from buying a computer within the budget as long as you don't change either the bottom dollar or that department number. Either one of those, the department amount, either one of those changes would have to come from the board for appropriation for a change. So what this will do is allow us to pay our fourth quarter bills.
Do we anticipate any additional extra costs above what we anticipated in the budget, so like under the jail or
No.
CSA?
No, hopefully, I'll get to see you after July 1st.
Make a motion, we approve the fourth quarter appropriations.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? I'll start the voting for the motion to approve the fourth quarter appropriations with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Our next item is the memorandum of understanding and joint employment.
Would you mind reading that for us? This probably should have been before the other vote, but
Well,
anyway.
Just for a little bit of clarification, and this might help out also, the EDA does not, is not set up to do payroll. So they, as an employee, they do not hire any employees. They can hire subcontractors, they can transfer property and those type of things. What we are doing for the EDA is very similar to what we do for other, I'm gonna say, we are fiscal agent. So what this memorandum understanding is, it allow the Carroll County to hire a individual for that position. However, it will be paid for by the EDA, in which both boards work together in order to manage that employee. He will actually be a county employee. However, he doesn't, because he's a part-time employee, he won't rehire. He won't get the vacation. He won't get the retirement. He does not get the health insurance because it's part-time. But he is considered an employee of the county in which the EDA reimburses.
And just for clarification, the EDA chose this employee.
That's correct.
The EDA chose, and they are the one that will be reimbursing us for his salary.
That's correct.
And I know that they have chose someone. Have they made it public yet? Have they made his choice public yet?
Think, but I don't know what.
I did approve that at the last EDA meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, point of order again, please.
I'm sorry.
The only question I have is what you all are discussing now doesn't reflect this document that we have, well, I just saw it online for the first time. But it's making, it says the word it desires to do, as if this employee has not been hired yet. It also talks about benefits of any other county employee, which this employee doesn't receive benefits because it's part-time. So my concern is the document needs to reflect what I'm hearing you saying, hopefully. And I'm not sure, but that's my question, is just a technicality from the aspect of the point of order, is the document doesn't reflect what the discussion is.
I think the document is flexible enough to address the situation that you've got here. It would also apply if it were a full-time person who was entitled to benefits. By going to a part-time person, you're still, I think Mr. Gregson's referring to the whereas clauses, but
Yes.
if you look at the operable portions of the agreement, I think it lays out how the employee will be hired, supervised, evaluated, paid. I think this is something that you can approve, or if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to address it.
Anybody got any questions of Steve? Durbin?
I'd say this is similar to what we were looking at maybe for the PSA, since they're not, I guess, technically county employees, but we do use our, I guess, with that fiscal agent for those folks. Like we are with the landfill and various other entities.
It's a similar arrangement to that. I think, must have been back in January, Mr. Dalton asked which would be better, whether it would make more sense for the EDA to establish its own employer identification number and register, handle the unemployment compensation, workers' comp if it were appropriate, and in discussing it with some of the employment law attorneys in my firm, they thought as long as everyone's in agreement, you could do an MOU to have the county handle this and be much more efficient than one extra layer of administration for the EDA to address. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish with this agreement. Is basically, this is gonna be a county employee who's going to be under the normal county policies, under the direct supervision of the county administrator, but the county administrator will take feedback from the EDA as far as performance evaluation of the employees. I think in years past, we've had a county administrator who served as the EDA director, sometimes as the PSA director, and it seems like those duties have become a bit much for one person. So the idea was to let one person focus on economic development.
Everybody ready to vote? We'll start the vote on Mr. Moore.
Have we got a motion to accept
Oh,
it?
I'm sorry, maybe we didn't, I got on track there. Do I have a motion to approve the MOU and the joint employment agreement?
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, well, we already had the discussion. Does anybody have anything? That's what confused me. We did the discussion first, but
I guess realistic, looking in the past, sometimes we've not written these MOUs to identify exactly what we're doing. And that's what we're trying to do now, so we don't have these problems that we've run into that happened in the past. I'm
The
s-
the idea is that 2 or 3 years down the road, we are looking around at each other wondering now what.
What
we
happened?
Actually agreed to.
Yes.
In the document.
Yep.
and as Mr. Durbin said, the EDA wanted someone that was focused and
Yes.
could function just in their capacity and get things really, hopefully moving in the county.
Yep.
And I assume you're ready to vote. I'll start with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Robin McCraw.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Our next item is an update to our personnel policy, and again, I'm gonna go to Mike for some discussion on that.
Okay, what this does is it clears up some of the personnel policy. The personnel policy was written based on a bi-weekly pay period. As of, I'm wanting to say a year ago, we started to go following the state pay schedule. So, a lot of the items in here are just to address that. It goes from, where you'll see in red, it went from bi-weekly to semi-monthly. There were a couple changes that were made, as far as carryover of annual leave, and holiday time. And there's separate dates being carried over, and there's also I'm not gonna say every year, but in the past, there's been years in which departments have asked to move that date. Okay? So what I'm recommending is to move from, to fiscal year. So in and on June 30th, you begin with your totals that you're maximum allowed to have. So if you have over 240 hours of annual leave, then you need to use it for anything over that by June 30th. And that'll be across the board with not only staff, also with the sheriff's department and other offices. And this will include your compensation time and holiday time. They receive the people that receive holiday time, they receive I'm gonna call it comp time for it, however, it's really holiday time. And that's the officers or the employees that have to work. Emergency services, people that are, just because of the holiday, you don't get to shut down every department. Also, this allow for, those changes, I believe that's the semi-monthly, and that includes, as emergency services actually work a 28-day pay cycle. So that's where it also will remove Lee Jackson Day and add Election Day to our holidays. So, other than that, that's the main idea behind it. It was just to clean it up. There's a few other things added that we were already doing, just to make sure that it's in the policy. Firefighters, EMT, and law enforcement officers who work schedules do not include scheduled days off for holidays shall earn leave based on 8 hours of holiday or of otherwise granted. So if, they might, emergency services might work a 24-hour shift. Okay, for a holiday, they won't get 24 hours compensation, they get 8 hours compensation. Also, one of the other adds to this was employees shall be compensated for up to a maximum of 40 hours accumulated holiday leave upon termination of employee at a rate of 100% of the hourly rate of pay at time of termination. So they get paid up to a 40-hour maximum. And we've been following these procedures, it's just, they need to be in writing. You know, it's one of those things you don't, start looking at it, procedure and trying to clean up some of the things that, needs to be written out. So that's what this, personnel policy update considers.
Thank you, Mike. All the changes are in red, either updates or changes. I hope you've had a chance to look over them. But we'll need a motion to approve those changes and updates, and then we'll have discussion if we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve these changes to the
Thank you.
personnel policy.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on any of the changes or updates?
Should we include in the holidays any approved by the governor? Sometimes they add, is that in here? Is that covered in here?
It was in there before, so it
Okay.
wasn't in there.
All right.
And the only reason we done it away with Lee Jackson is because the state done away with it?
Yep.
Okay.
But we added election day, it looks like.
Yeah.
Any other discussion or questions of Mike? Since you're ready to vote, I'll start with Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Our next item is a resolution for payment of warrants. This is basically gonna give the county administrators some options to pay some bills when we're not in session, but we'll still have to approve them after the fact. But this, we have had some bills that were past due when we were paying penalties and interest on some of the payments because we were only meeting at certain times. So anybody want to explain that any better?
What this resolution allows, it advances the county administrator as the clerk of the board, and that gives some authority to the board to allow the county administrator to be able to pay warrants, which are bills that are for the county. However, this, and a lot of times you'll receive a bill and it'll come in, but by the time it's vented through, there's not a lot of time to pay it. So when you purchase something, you get a PO, it comes into the office or one of the offices will approve it. They'll vent it to make sure that it's correct. It gets sent to accounts payable, accounts pays it, then the governing body, this board would approve the payment. So what happens is in occasion you have bills that will be past due. This also provides for that, the issuance of the warrants and to also be sent to this board for their oversight, and then at the end, during their next meeting, they will approve.
So that explanation, was that of the version 2?
I think we're.
That's the most recent version that you
Okay.
received, and just, if I could just echo kind of what Mr. Watson's already described is, you do have situations where you can't make timely payments just because that's the way the contract writes, the invoicing cycle, goes. So it gives, and there is authorization in Code Virginia, as cited in the resolution 15.2407, basically allows you to define as the board of supervisors under what circumstances does the clerk of the board, county administrator, under what circumstances does he have the ability to pay warrants? And what you've done is you've carved out the situation where when a claim arises from a contract or another purchase that the board has already approved, And the payment terms or billing cycle does not permit timely payment if you delayed until a regular board meeting. So it gives the county administrator the authority to approve those payments, provided that he gives you notification at the time of making the payment by email, and places it on the agenda for ratification and approval at the next meeting. So under 15.2407, you have the right to carve out a procedure to approve the claims by the county administrator, and that's the procedure that you would be establishing by this resolution. Also would establish that regular payroll is included in that authority to make sure that we're always keeping up with payroll for staff.
Just as a clarification, just how, when a department head receives a invoice, they normally come to the department head or they come to accounts receivable? And then they go to a department head to be approved and then back for payment? How is that the way it works, or is?
Typically, the department will get them.
Okay.
And approve them within the department, and then take to accounts payable.
Okay.
So if a department head, or let's just say a department, gets a bill in by the time it comes through the mail, and it takes them a week to vent it and then send upstairs. And if it's not, if you get it within a certain time period, it doesn't make it
Yeah.
for the Wednesday before. So we usually try to write checks. We run a check run the Wednesday before the board meeting. So if you miss that Wednesday, you're 45 days writing a check. And payroll's one of the ones that.
Is there typically any particular department that holds up any kind of invoices or anything that comes about? Or are they all usually pretty quick to respond?
The
Okay.
problem is if you get one on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I cut off the board packet.
Yeah.
Then you're waiting an entire month to get, and we've had issues where we've had things cut off, such as
Yeah.
our internet and our credit card bills.
I do think the department should be held accountable to get those bills in immediately
Yeah.
upon receiving them and approving them within the department head. Should be
They do a pretty good
should be
job.
within the next business day. Typically, they should get it to you. They're all in this office pretty much, aren't they? In this building? You know, it's not that.
We're gonna work on some of that too.
Yeah, okay. That's what I want to hear.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we pass the version 2 of this resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion or clarification from either Mike or Steve?
For clarity, we've been talking about version 2, but it wasn't included in the agenda packet because we made some amendments after the agenda packet went out. That's why we have version 2. So I think this is one that one of us should read into the minutes so that it's clear what you're voting on.
That's the one that was emailed to us this afternoon, is that correct?
Yes. So I can recite it if that's what you'd like, but I think someone should.
Go ahead. I don't have my email open, so I don't have it available.
I might go to the mic.
Okay.
That's-
This is a resolution of the Carroll County Board of Supervisors appointing the county administrator as authorized agent for the payment of bills. Whereas the County of Carroll operates as a county board form of government, and whereas the Board of Supervisors of the County of Carroll appoints a county administrator to be responsible to the board for the proper administration of all affairs of the county, which the board has the authority to control. And whereas the county administrator serves as the clerk of the board for the County of Carroll, with all the powers, authorities, and duties vested in the county clerk under general law. And whereas the county administrator is designated the purchasing agent for the County of Carroll. And whereas the county administrator may sign and issue orders or warrants under such conditions as the governing body may prescribe in accordance with Section 15.2-407 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. And whereas the board has prescribed that the county administrator may receive, audit, sign, and issue orders or warrants which will be examined and countersigned by the chairman or vice chairman. And whereas the board has has been advised that certain contracts and other purchases approved by the board require payment schedules which do not always coincide with board meetings, resulting in occasions where the county is unable to make payment in a timely manner in accordance with the vendor's billing cycle or the approved contract. And whereas the board wishes to establish a procedure in accordance with Virginia Code Section 15.2-407G, whereby the county administrator, as clerk of the board, may audit, approve, and pay with his warrant such claims which would not be timely paid if approval were delayed to a regularly scheduled board meeting, provided that the county administrator notify the board members at the time of such payment, and further provided that the payment be added to the agenda of the monthly board meetings for ratification and approval. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Michael Watson, as county administrator, is hereby authorized to pay any claims against the county when, 1, such claim arises from a contract or other purchase approved by the board, and 2, the payment terms or billing cycle of such contract or purchase does not permit timely payment if approval thereof were delayed until a regular board meeting. And be it further resolved that upon approving payment in accordance with the power granted herein, the county administrator shall notify the board via email of the claim and shall cause the payment to be placed on the agenda of the next board meeting for review and ratification by the board. And be it further resolved that the county administrator is authorized to approve regular payroll for county employees in accordance with the county's regular payroll schedule. And be it further resolved that the county administrator shall continue to include all payments approved by him in the board's monthly agenda packets for review, audit, and ratification by the Board of Supervisors. Adopted this 8th day of March 2021 by the Board of Supervisors in the County of Carroll, Virginia.
Thank you. Will this change the way that the chairman approves the checks?
No, I think it would just be that the county administrator would be able to authorize it, there would still be a counter signature you'd have to request. But it wouldn't be delaying for the entire board to take action.
Any other discussion? I'll start the voting, voting with Mr. Robbie McGraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and Mr. Philip McGraw.
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Yes, the motion passes 5-0. Our next item under new business is open positions, and that's from our county administrator, and he's requesting that the board consider lifting the hiring freeze, which was put in place in 2019, and authorize him to fill positions where funding is currently in place within the budget. And that would require board approval if you so agree. And what you're saying is these are already budgeted.
That's correct. And if there's some position that needs to be hired that's not budgeted, I will bring it back to appropriation. We're trying to get recreation started. So we need a recreation director, we need to hire employees, we need part-time employees. We have a position needs to be filled as a director of maintenance, groundkeepers. Just there's several positions that we just never filled in the past year with everything that's going on.
I make a motion to approve this.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the request from the county administrator. Is there a second?
I'll second it. I would like for us to be kept in the loop with everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's, for discussion, that's sort of why, I think we should lift it. It's just a word. We've hired people
Yeah.
over the last year. When-
I'd just really like to be make sure we're kept in the loop.
And you'll continue to receive, and I can send out emails of when we put a person in a position. Also, you receive your package month changes in personnel, so that'll give you any personnel changes also as we hire to keep you in the loop also.
And I think, we've always asked if it's if it's a department head or something, for us to be looped in on the process completely on that, and I would greatly appreciate that to continue.
Will the rec be intertwined with tourism?
As of right now, we have a position that existing personnel, and she's currently working in Commissioner Revenue's office doing scannings and those type things. However, she has been given additional duties. She'll be transforming into recreation and tourism. A long time, well, I'm a firm believer recreation and tourism is intertwined. Where she's actually working right now with the Dixie League. We're hoping to have baseball and softball this upcoming season. So we're taking applications. She's helping organize it while we still look for a recreation director, coordinator. Currently, she's working on a project in which the county is involved with on mapping trout streams to start marking those on a map. Also, she's working with Dixie League and preparing for this upcoming season, along with her existing duties that she does. So, I've got a lot of, I'm gonna say, confidence in that this is gonna be moving forward, and I feel like it's time with keeping it safety as we can, getting this season with recreation and have it grow this year. I think it's very important, and I think that the community will want recreation. So,
And I'm sure that people are looking for something to do after a year of not doing anything. Any other discussion or questions of Mike?
I know that the recreation, it takes a lot of part-time people. You know, so it's gonna take, it's been a while, a year's spell that we hadn't done anything, so it's gonna take a little bit to get going.
Probably gonna take some to get it caught up too.
Yep.
yes.
If there are no other words of discussion, I'll start the voting on Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Philip McGraw?
Yes.
Mr. Robin McGraw?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Our next item under new business is an authorization for a public hearing concerning a cigarette tax board to establish it with the Mount Rogers group. Does anybody want to elaborate on that?
Mr. Chairman, the staff, I guess, would be looking for a motion and approval from the board to advertise an ordinance that would approve the formation of the Mount Rogers Cigarette Tax Board. It is open for political subdivisions located within the Mount Rogers Planning District Commission footprint, and it would be a regional tax board that would administer any cigarette taxes to be adopted by any member or jurisdiction who joins the board. It'd be a way to share expenses, share administrative burden in managing the tax. And what we'd be looking for is just the ordinance approving the formation of the board at this time, whether or not you have adopted a cigarette tax, which would be planned for later on. This is the preliminary step to get the administration in place, or have the framework for an administrative body in place in anticipation of adopting cigarette tax.
The information that we have on our agenda, I think, has the date wrong. It has April the 8th, and I think it should be April the 12th.
It's on a Thursday, the 8th.
We'll adjust that date for it to be on.
I assume it's intended to be the regular board meeting
Yes,
next
that's right.
month.
You need a motion to authorize that public hearing?
Yes, we need a
I
vote.
so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to have a public hearing on the 12th day of April at a regular meeting starting at 6 o'clock or as soon as thereafter is practical. Any discussion? Start the meeting voting with Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Yes. We've had so many motions, I'm having a hard time getting the word voting out.
Where you laid out on us last month.
Tracy says it's payback, Tom.
Sorry about that last one. Our last item under new business, unless somebody has something I'm not aware of, is a health department agreement. Would either of you like to discuss that in more detail?
I believe this is an agreement that we do every year. It authorizes us to have G Department Health. It's kind of, it sets the guidelines on the things that they will be doing for our county. The family planning services and health improvement process. They are located downtown, and we provide some of the funding for them, and this allows them to operate in Carroll. If I'm not mistaken, it's basically, it's the same document that, same agreement that, other than just, the amounts.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Just one question. I guess you would call it paragraph 1, but the second section of paragraph, there are several zeros in there. That is correct, right? That's not to be filled in later with some other numbers.
I think that's about a carryover. They won't have any carryover.
Okay. I just want to make sure that wasn't whether it is so they could put something else later. Any other discussion?
I think, I don't know what we'd done without them this year. They've done a lot of stuff trying to get us where we can get out and communicate and see people, visit our grandparents or parents. And give us a lot of advice too.
All right, I assume you're ready to vote to approve the agreement. I'll start with Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Does anybody else have any new business that I'm not aware of? Hearing none, there's only one item under old business, and that's committee appointments. And there is a social services appointment open, apparently, that has been since December.
I make a motion to table it one more month.
To table it. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We'll start the vote to see the table that appointment. I'll start with Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Yes. Is there any other old business I'm not aware of? All right, we're down to board member comments. I'm gonna start with Mr. Philip McCraw.
Well, I don't have anything other than thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thank all the board for the work they do and the staff for keeping us posted on all these things. And hope everybody soon get COVID behind them and get back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hill?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out and speaking. And thank the county employees for the work that they do. getting us all prepared, and trying to get over this coronavirus mess. And that's all.
Mr. Robbie McGraw.
I'd like to just reiterate what Rick said and thank everybody. And I do have one thing I'd like to ask staff to help me with. The primary and secondary roads in Carroll County and the surrounding areas is horrible right now. And we're paying an additional tax on our gas because of Interstate 77. I would love to hear some response from VDOT or our state representatives or someone to tell us if they're going to put some money into trying to repair some of the roads in this county. And we get a lot of grief because of our 6-year road plan, and we try to do all we can to help with that. But the roads in general are horrible in this county. Anybody that's out traveling much can tell you that. Lots of potholes on high traffic roads. I just think as a group, we need to reach out to somebody and get somebody to try to help us get some funding to try to help these roads. And I've been in Wythe County, Grayson County, Floyd County over the last 2 months, and they're like that everywhere. So it's not just here, but it's like that everywhere. But it seems like we're being left behind here. But I'd appreciate it if staff could try to reach out to somebody on that. And that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
I'd just like to reiterate what y'all said about, our employees and staff. They do a good job. Thanks, Mike, for all your hard work. I do want to remind everybody to get the kids signed up for Dixie. It's time to get out and hopefully play some sports and they can enjoy it. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I do have one question that I want a little clarification on. On the tax levy, when will the tax tickets go out with the new levy?
They'll be effective when tax tickets are sent out in June.
June?
But we'll have to approve any of the,
I think by law, they'll go out 2 weeks before they're due, but
Yeah.
they usually get them out sooner than that, I believe.
Right.
Isn't that correct?
Yeah, but we have to get the levy set before they can
Yep.
publish it.
Right.
so.
I thought that's why we had a public hearing in March, so we'd get the levy done for the tax ticket,
That's correct.
you know?
Uh,
I mean, it's 14 weeks till June 11th.
Well,
You take 4 more off before we meet again, and we're down to 10 weeks.
we'll have to approve the vote for it next time. The tax tickets will have to be prepared with the new levy delivered to the treasurer's office. The notice.
Okay. That was my biggest concern. Thought we was gonna maybe set a levy tonight, but, so it would have to be by April 12th?
Hopefully the next meeting they'll be approved.
Okay.
And then they'll have, and it's a matter of just changing the value on the tax tickets and sending them out for the mailing.
Okay. That's all. Thanks, everybody, for coming out, and be safe this evening.
guess we'll need another budget meeting to look at those rates and see where our revenue compared to expenditures come in, so we'll know what that rate should be.
Could we have a report from the budget committee next meeting? I'd like to thank Tracy for filling in for me last month. I appreciate it. He had been vice chair for 1 month, and I threw him under the bus, so I appreciate him doing that. I'll try not to do that anymore. Well, there's not too many more
Oh,
times.
no, it's fine.
And I appreciate those who came and spoke to us during our public hearing. I think that's why I know that's why we have public hearings, so we can hear what the public has to say. So we're always welcome anybody who wants to come, and we gave people the option to call in tonight because we can't have too many in the room. And so please let your voice be heard if you have any comments that you would like to bring before us into the public hearings or even citizens' time. And I'd like to thank the staff. I think Mike has really fit right into his job, and we appreciate what he's doing, and all the other staff members. And with that, I'm going to give Mike a chance to have some county administrator comments.
I really don't have a whole lot tonight. I just wanted to reiterate, we want to kick off recreation, please. If you have somebody who wants to play, have to sign up. We're going to do everything we can to make it a good year. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Hopefully, this will be a good growing year. I'm I'm looking forward to it. I've been blessed, I got a really good staff, a really good board. I have no complaints, so I'm just glad to be here. That's about it.
All right, well, I will accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are hereby adjourned. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah.